Hi guys. So have any of you ever come out with your abuse, like telling your friends, your family, well, not just your friends, but like friends of the family, people who associate with your abuser? And what was the reaction? Was it negative? Were they blaming you? Were they not believing you? Well, today we're gonna talk about why they don't believe you about that abuse. The most obvious reason is smear campaigning. Your narcissist has spent your life or your entire relationship with them lying about you. The narcissist makes sure that you are too scared to speak out, but they know someday you're going to speak out. But for the time being, they want you too scared to defend yourself, and they want to keep you isolated. And most of the time, they'll straight up tell you nobody will believe you. So while you're at home, being isolated and, trying to not step on any eggshells, your narcissist is out there smearing your name, telling lies, doing everything they can to make people think badly of you. And a lot of times they'll even call you a liar, and they'll put that in other people's heads so that when you do come out, the people already know, hey, that person's a liar, don't believe them. So the thing is when you finally get the courage to speak out, you're called crazy, you're told that you're unstable, you're told that you have mental problems. But the thing is the narcissist knows from the beginning. They start prepping for the time that you eventually try to come out. The whole point to smear campaigning is to hide their abuse. They're not smear campaigning you just for kicks. It's more of they're abusing you. And they know that one day you're going to come out and tell people about that abuse. And they know that they might get in trouble. So what they need to do from the get-go is start a smear campaign to make people distrust you. That way, when you come out with it, they won't believe you. That's the whole point of the smear campaign. That way, your stories will seem unbelievable. And not only that, it's usually when you have two people telling something to someone. Okay, let's say, you're at work and you and a coworker are supposed to be doing something, and your boss comes up and says, "Why isn't it done?" Your coworker will probably sneak and give a false reason saying that, "Oh, it wasn't done because I was stuck doing other work because the other person wasn't doing anything," which would be you. And then later you would say, "Hey, it didn't get done because the other person was sitting there talking on a phone instead of doing work." And then the truth will be, it's because that other person was on the phone instead of doing work. Now, generally, people believe the first person who tells them something. And it has to do with the fact that they don't want to think that they're gullible. They don't want to feel or believe that they have been fooled or have the wool pulled over their eyes. They see, if someone lies to them and they believe it, it makes them look stupid. And they don't want that. So that's why they usually believe the first person. Unless there's like proof with cameras or something. You know, and then it could be either or. They could go with, you know, blaming the person who lied, or they could sit there and still try to blame you. Or find a way to blame you, just like a narcissist would. Now, when I came out, it was August 2011. I didn't even hear the term narcissist back then. All I knew is that what was going on with my mother and my half-brother is that there was lots of abuse. And it wasn't really physical much. There was some, but not much. It was just mental and emotional. I wrote, I had this online journal, and I wrote, oh my God, it was so long. I swear it would take about like 45 minutes to read the whole thing. Coming out with most of everything that went on that was abuse. And I made it public, and I shared it, I think, on Facebook. And my brother shared it on his Facebook, and he said, "Read all the lies, LOL." Quite a few people commented. I don't really remember much, but I remember one of his friends that knew me, he said something to the effect of, "Wow, your mother had one child that's stable and one that's not so stable," meaning I was the unstable one. And when you sit there and think, whenever all the abuse comes out and the abused lets all of it out and they're coming out, a lot of emotions come up, and it really does make you look unstable. But the thing is, if you were abused, I mean, you would look unstable too. It happens. It takes a while for everything to mellow out and try to, you know, calm down. This is why, like, I can kind of talk calmly about it now, and other times I can laugh at it. I don't know if laughing at it is maybe like a defense mechanism. But anyway, my mom, she posted the link to my journal entry several times a day for a few days until I eventually made the post private. Nobody believed me. And the reason why they didn't believe me is because my mom spent my entire life, and my brother, my half-brother, smear campaigning me, making me look like a liar, a storyteller. Mom always told people that I'm a storyteller. And yes, I was. The thing is, I used to be a writer. I've had a couple of poems published when I was a teenager. And writing was what I wanted to do when I was younger. She killed that dream for me, because the way she would tell people that I'm a storyteller, I guess I kind of figured that I shouldn't have told stories. Like, because maybe that would make me look like a liar. And it did. But a lot of kids tell stories. Like, when you're in grade school, kids tell stories all the time. My daughter does it. They do it for fun. It's not like they're sitting there on purpose trying to manipulate you or hurt you. It's just, they're colorful at that age. They have an imagination. But the thing is, you know, you grow out of it just like I did. But my mom doesn't seem to think that I've grown up. She still sees me as like a 7 or 8 year old child that tells stories. And now, you know, it's hurting her, because now she doesn't have a relationship with her granddaughter or me because of all this. If she could get better, maybe we could have a relationship, but it's never going to happen, especially now that she seems to think that all the abuse that she put on me was okay. Like I said, they're just covering their butts from the get-go so that no one will believe you. Another thing is that narcs, they like to make themselves look like saints. They're usually like pillars of the community, people who do a lot of stuff just to make themselves look good. They'll end up being a stand-up guy or a girl. And people don't want to believe that someone who is such a saint would do those things. But if you look online, well, like at news stories and stuff, a lot of priests are molesting little boys. You don't want to believe it's true, but it's true. You have a lot of people that they come off as so wonderful, and then you hear something bad about them that they actually did. They have evidence that they did it, but you still don't want to believe it because you don't want to believe that you've been fooled. So you would rather, not you, but you know what I mean, people who believe the narcissist. So those people would rather you be abused than for themselves to believe that they have been tricked. There's a quote that says, "It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled." I think that says a lot. And another thing is when it comes to family or longtime family friends, they don't want to believe that the person, your narcissist, is capable of it, because they think, oh, you know, I've known them for such a long time. In a way, I guess they would feel like they would take some blame, because it's like, oh, I've known them for 30 years and I never saw anything. And in a way, they don't want to admit that it's possible that they could have seen something and done something about it. So they don't want to be blamed either. It's like, oh, well, you saw my mom do this to me. Why didn't you do anything? So they don't want any blame. They don't want to take any responsibility. And they are actually what's called flying monkeys. And I'll get to that another time. So they don't want to take blame for seeing and doing nothing. On top of that, hearing that somebody has been abused is kind of seen as a burden, because they don't know what to do when they hear it. Do they try to find you some help? Or, you know, they feel compelled, like they might have to do something. And they don't. All they really need to do is believe. But in my case, if my family members believed me over my mother, I would be elated. But if they kept in contact with her, I still wouldn't be able to be in contact with them. Because any little like nugget of evidence or any word of anything, my mother will twist and turn it into something terrible. Like if I have an uncle who believes me, but yet he talks to me and he talks to my mother, he eventually at some point might be tricked by my mother, because she'll probably cry and be all like, oh my God, I haven't seen my granddaughter in forever, and he might send her a picture. And in that picture, let's say my daughter has a bruise on her knee. She'll see the bruise. And then she'll show everybody who she possibly can and say, look, my granddaughter has a bruise on her. She's being abused. And then she'll get people to call CPS. And this is how crazy my mother is. These are the actions that she will definitely take, and I bet my life on it. So in order to protect my daughter and protect myself, I have to be completely cut off from every single person who has anything to do with her or who has anything to do with people who have things to do with her. It's very tiring and it's very lonesome because my only family member is my daughter now. But at the same time, we don't have to put up with her stuff. We're no longer being abused by her unless it's one of those random times that she decides to call the cops because she can't get in contact with me, and then I have to let them know that she's just using it to harass me. This part's kind of sad. Some people don't want to believe it because they really don't care because it didn't happen to them. And that's actually very common, as sad as it sounds. Because if it's something doesn't happen to you, you can't relate. So you kind of can't get it, and you end up not caring about it. So not only is your narcissist brainwashing you, but they're also brainwashing other people. And those other people just don't want to believe that they're being brainwashed. So it's better for them to not think that they've been brainwashed. Actually, a story about that is when my ex wanted me to talk to his girlfriend, I told her the truth. I said, hey, he's brainwashing you. He took the phone away from me. And he was like, am I brainwashing you? And I guess she said no. He's like, yeah, I know. I think it's really stupid and kind of comical and sad and pathetic at the same time that you would ask the person you're brainwashing if you've brainwashed them. That is a narcissist move right there. Especially a covert narcissist like him. He will be like, oh, am I brainwashing you? How would you know if I'm brainwashing you? Because you're being brainwashed. The whole point of brainwashing is it's making someone believe what you want them to. And the entire time that he's known her, that's what he's been doing. He's been making her believe everything that he wants her to believe. So he's been telling her all kinds of lies and stuff about me because he wants her to believe that. He wants her to believe that I'm a slob. If you've seen my house, it's very impeccable. I mean, you may not notice from like the mess down here. This is like my watering area, and I need to get a hutch right there to hold all of our, I think we got 4 cases of water right there. And I don't really have much place to put it, but most of my house, if you took a look at it, it's a lot of my friends and stuff comment about how nice my house is. It's just growing up, even though my house was messy because my mom's a messy person and she's like a mini hoarder who hoards everything. Well, she used to. I think she's starting to get rid of stuff, but anytime I lived somewhere, if she ever came to visit, I would clean like crazy all the time, because she would basically do the whole come in, and every time she would find the tiniest little piece of dirt or something out of place, she would shame me and look down on me. And it was horrible. It's like I bust my butt cleaning and the place looks absolutely perfect. And maybe there's one fork in the sink and she goes crazy over that. And the thing is, it's not her home. It's mine. But she wants to feel like she can judge me. But yeah, I go over to her home and she's got all kinds of stuff hoarded that she doesn't need. So, but it's been impounded in my head that if my house doesn't look perfect, then I am less than. I'm not worth it. I'm not worth anything if my house isn't clean. And that's basically what she's made me to believe. And so I kind of have OCD about things. And everything has to have their spot. So that's why, like, all the sodas and waters and stuff over here, it does bother me that it's there. But I'm planning on getting a hutch for the other side of the room to hide all the waters and sodas. But I have so much of like house projects going on that's like on the least of my list. But the rest of my house looks really good. Even my daughter's keeping her room clean, but I don't bother her with it that much. As long as stuff is off the floor, I'm good. That way I'm easy to vacuum in there. But most of the time I just end up cleaning up stuff that bothered me because it's her room. It doesn't have to be perfect. She's a kid. So anyway, people, those are some reasons why people won't believe you about your narcissistic abuser. And because people tend not to believe, people don't want to tell their stories, so they hide. And I think it's wrong. I think when someone comes out with abuse, you need to tell them. I mean, I guess I'm kind of guilty of it too, because I remember a story about Bill Cosby and some abuse. And you know, I watched his shows, and he seems like a stand-up guy and totally funny, and he just seems like a great all-around person, like he would be, you know. And we put these celebrities up on like a pedestal, like, you know, they have to behave better than us, but they don't. They just have to be a whole lot better at hiding it because the public can't see it, or otherwise they're going to be ridiculed. So when the abuse came out, at first I didn't believe it because I'm like, oh my God, no. But I realized that's not fair, and it's re-victimizing the victims. So when you have someone in your family coming to you saying you've been abused, you should believe it, especially when they don't have anything to gain. See, the narcissist has something to gain by smear campaigning you and by abusing you. It feeds their narcissistic abuse. When we come out about the abuse, we end up being shamed and shunned. We don't want that. You know, so we have no reason to come out with it other than wanting people to know what happened. And I think that if you know that abuse is happening and you're claiming that it's not, just because you want to pretend that you weren't being brainwashed, or you can't handle the fact that you were being fooled then you're just as bad as the narcissist. And you don't deserve to be in my life or my daughter's life. And I want everybody else out there, don't let this stop you from coming out with the abuse. There will be backlash. There will be. But you will get through it. I got through it. And it takes time to heal. Anyway, so I hope you guys take care of yourselves. Have a good one. I'm sorry guys, I just wanted to share one last thing. The more we come out with the abuse and tell our stories, the more it will be accepted. Because narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, isn't that widely accepted like physical abuse is. When you tell people about physical abuse, it's more believable, but people don't think emotional and mental abuse is really abuse. They think that in order for it to be abuse, it has to leave marks. But emotional and mental abuse, they leave marks that last a lot longer than physical abuse. Physical abuse you can kind of get over. Mental and emotional abuse, especially from a young age, you can't get over that. You can move on, but you can't fully get over it. So the more you share your stories and tell people, even though there's backlash, the more eventually it's going to help. It may or may not help you, but the more we speak out, the more we'll be able to help our children or our grandchildren, so that if something happens to them and they come out with it, they're not gonna have as hard a time as we are getting people to believe what our narcissist is doing to us. So please, in the comments, go ahead and share your stories. I would love to hear them. I actually already posted in my group asking people, to share their stories about what happened when they came out with their abuse and how their relatives and friends and everything reacted. So in the comments, go ahead and share your stories. Tell me what happened. Like when you came out with your narcissist abusing you. Did your family ignore it? Did they believe you? Let me know. I'd love to hear them. All right. Thank you. Take care.